Do it.
It's actually pretty good. Go live. But let's see. Oh, there we go. Cool. Just recording. Yeah, 90 days to burn 1 million.
Yes.
So, how do you want to? What do you think was the central message?
It's one of those things where it's like,
Do you hear it in the background,
you
by the
know,
way?
oh no,
Oh,
now
really?
I do. Now I do hear
Maybe.
something in the background.
Okay. Put it in the background.
I so let's put it this way. I think it's one of those things where like the message is okay, but the way that the message is
Yeah.
presented is just like horrific. Um,
Okay. What Balaji's
yeah.
thing?
I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah.
just
In
all of
total,
it just
yes.
doesn't really make any sense to me, right? Which is like, okay, so you say you burned 1 million to tell you that, trillions are being
I can
printed,
save you
or something
trillions.
ridiculous like that, right?
Yes.
Where I'm just like, okay, so
Right.
you burned $1 million. So you made this bet with somebody on Twitter, $1 million,
Yes.
and the premise being in the next 90 days, the US is going to be struck by hyperinflation and Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million.
Right.
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 Okay, fine, right? And that sounds like a very simple bet, but like I think when you like really break down that bet, you're just like sitting there going like, how like stupid is this?
Why did he give more money? Why did he give 1.5? Like I
Well,
was like,
because he settled the bet, right? Because I think he settled early. So
yeah, but still, it's 1 million. Is
I don't,
why would you pay
I have
more?
no
Yeah,
idea. I don't know. It just
yeah.
doesn't want to get down to 90 days and have a whole spectacle of it, right?
Yeah,
Because
it
if
could
I'm
be.
that guy, the other guy who took the bet, I'd be like, "Hey, Balaji, 10 more days to go. Hey, Balaji, 9 more days
Yeah,
to
that's right.
go." You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? And it's
That's
like he's gonna have
right.
to deal with that
Yeah.
shit. So I think he's just like, let's just close this thing early, not like get into this whole PR disaster, right? Because I think ultimately this is a PR disaster. So I think he's like obviously trying to like recover here, right? Where he's like trying to turn this like spin this whole thing into like, oh, I donated $1 million to charity, and here's a public service announcement to
Yeah.
go alongside this. And this public service announcement is like meant to be this, I don't know, very intellectually like stimulating, like no one's ever understood what this means type of thing, right? And you're sitting there going like, bro, like you,
Do you think he legitimately thought that it was like that it could go to a million?
I don't want to speculate from the perspective of like I could tell you now that he did,
I don't
but
think
at the
he.
same
You
time,
think?
now he's going to be like, oh, actually, I didn't. It was just because I wanted to tell you
Right.
about trillions, right? And I'm like,
That's right. Yeah.
so
Exactly.
who
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
knows? But
All
when you put
right.
$1 million on the line, I have to imagine you thought something, right?
So I actually found that video kind of creepy as well. I mean, he generally looks kind of
Dude,
creepy. But I
let's
was
put it this way.
like, I
This
was
is
like,
him. This is him.
I was
It's
like,
like, hey,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah, 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 yeah. I was like, I was
they're
like,
burning trillions.
oh,
They're
yeah.
printing trillions. I burned a
I
million.
was,
Print
yeah,
trillions.
yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, this is
And that's what I'm telling
bad.
you.
He just looked creepy, dude.
It's like the absolute death. You know what the look is? The look is like when you're
Let's see.
like having sex and you're like, look, I can't, I gotta make this last, right? This can't end like in like 30
I
seconds,
don't
and you're
know.
just like, and you're like,
I don't know
and you're
if
like
I'm.
staring at the wall or some poster like in the corner somewhere, right? And you're just like,
I don't know. That's I've never. I don't know what situation you're talking about. But let's just take a. Yeah, this. I mean, he doesn't
dude,
blink.
like literally, if you just like do a little quick scroll through like that, like his face is just the same, eyes dead center in the
Yes.
camera. It's just
Yeah,
so
I know.
awkward.
Yeah, it's so
It's
awkward.
so
Like
awkward. It's
he
like
doesn't blink.
exactly. It's like, man, for someone who's got all this money and you're trying to make a public service announcement, I really wish
Right.
you had like somebody help you with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, maybe that's the charm, right? I don't know. Like he looks like I don't know. He looks like a zombie.
This is not the charm because, like, I mean, I've never actually fully like
Maybe you're not
watched
zombie.
his like podcasts that he does because all of them are like 3 hours long. But like of the snippets that I've seen before, like, yeah, he's not like a psychopath like interviewer or talker, right? He's more normal, I think. But this video is just like very serious,
It
right?
looks. This
Like,
looks like
but
he has a
but you
suit and
yeah, but
tie
do you see the
on.
shoulder movement always to change something on his iPad, right? You're like,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
on,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. Okay, I think the cover's gonna be like this. So I need a photo of you with a tie. Do you have a tie? You don't have a tie. I'll just put your head on
I
top
don't
of
have a
his.
tie. Yeah, just put my head on top of this.
Okay. Yeah, put it and like keep your eyes open as if you're a psychopath.
Sure.
Like or like no, he's got the lazy eye. It's like he's bored. But
I don't know,
yeah.
man. Though
He's like lazy.
the whole
Yeah.
thing is just
And but it looks like he hasn't showered in like or shaved in like 20 days, right? So he's tired, he's got this lazy eye, and then Burnham Millen, they're printing trillions for instead, but they're printing
it's
trillions, and
ridiculous, right?
so
So
it was very creepy. It was
yeah,
very
this video is
creepy.
quite inspirational. I was just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Uh,
Did you watch the
of
entire thing though?
course.
Because I
I
didn't.
I
Did you?
watched it because I was like, it's like I described in the podcast. I was like, you know, you don't put out something like this and not like have some sort of like message at the end, right? Something big to announce. Like, so I was expecting it.
But it wasn't.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? So I was expecting it to be like, okay, you know, I wade through the boredom, right, to get to like something at the end, similar to like what I was saying, right? When you go
Right.
to the movies, you watch an Avenger movie, then you sort of wait there for the credits to go, and then right,
Right.
you know, somewhere as the credits are ending, it like flashes into a scene of like the next movie or something, right? And so you're like, okay, that's
Yes.
worth it. So this is what I was expecting when I was like sitting there for 9 minutes and 45 seconds. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this whole thing, and then I'm assuming at the last 15 seconds, he's gonna say something like ridiculous, like I'm gonna make, you
Right.
know, I'm gonna burn 1 billion, so that then I could tell you about
Right.
or something ridiculous, and it just didn't happen, right? And I was like, what
Didn't
the
come.
fuck was this? I was like, this is the biggest waste of 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
I didn't even sit through the thing. I listened to the first like 20 seconds where he kind of made his argument where he's saying, you know, 1 month ago was this, 3 months ago was this, one quarter, one half a year, 1 year before, and I was just like, I kind of see the progression. I get
Right.
it. I get it as well, but I mean, I don't think you needed to burn 1 million.
Yeah, like why burn 1 million for that? It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And so that's what I'm saying. Like this whole
Yeah.
thing is like, you know, it raises the questions, right? Like your questions, like, oh, did he really think that this was gonna happen, or is he, you
Right.
know, that kind of thing, right? And so I think he's smart in that sense. Like he knew he flopped, he knew he fucked up, and now he's just basically trying to recover, right? Because he got a bajillion Twitter followers that he doesn't want to like, you know, seem like he's an idiot after he's been like considered like this,
Right.
you know, massive
Sure.
intellectual, right? So I'm like, dude,
Right.
I was like, oh, this video is such horseshit. So anyway, that's why I was like, as I was writing for this podcast, I was like thinking of different ideas, and it was going to center around like leverage and you know the problems with leverage, and you know because you know one of the big stories in crypto is like the whole Blur thing, right? Where they're coming out with a new lending platform called Blend, and it's like little money down, lend against the NFT, and then you basically get liquidated or you don't. And they got new, you know, crazy little funky features and whatever, right? But then you really like, okay, well, this is just like the next wave of people getting absolutely hosed on NFT lending. And so that's where I was like, my mind was around leverage, right? And then I watched this video and it was like, oh yeah, okay, I gotta. This is not the centerpiece of the podcast. This Balaji thing is the centerpiece of the podcast.
It's. I mean, I told to one of my podcast guests before that he's a big brain. He doesn't know Balaji, but they kind of go in the same
Yeah.
circles. That I think that bet is directionally correct, right? So at some point, it's going to be 1 million. At some point, I think it's gonna not the Fed won't run out of money because they can print it. But I think it's the direction correct, and but it's the timing, right? And I don't think anybody ever gets the timing right, right? And I would imagine that a big brain like him, I guess the reason why I'm like a bit skeptical,
Mm.
I think he always knew what the outcome likely would be, unless he's really that dumb. Is that directionally correct? Thesis is probably correct.
Yep.
Timing, you never can tell,
Yep.
and maybe 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, something like that.
Yep.
90 days is not that far in the future, but it's a little bit further than 30 days,
Mm.
right? Type of thing. Um, and I think it was just seeking. No one ever gets the market right, timing wise.
Yeah, I would
So, but
agree with that. And then I'm just sort of like, but like in what world does uh does Bitcoin get to $1 million, right? I'm just right now what I'm doing on my phone is I'm just trying to figure out like how many shares outstanding there is from Microsoft. Because I think we could all agree that Microsoft has like fundamentally changed the world, right? In many different ways. And so, okay, let's look at Microsoft, for example. Their current share price is like $2.2 trillion, right? And I'm just sitting here going like, okay, how many, let's say if we took their shares down to 21 million shares, which is the same as how many Bitcoin there could
yeah,
ever possibly fundamentally be, right?
yes.
So, what is like their shares
Yeah.
outstanding? I don't even know.
Let's see. So here is 305 shares outstanding. Let's take a look.
Does it say?
Well, it should be 2.27 trillion divided by 305. No?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
that
there
that
you
makes
go.
sense. What is that math? I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
even do
yeah.
that on an Apple.
Yeah, I can't do that, but let's just see. 2.27 trillion divided by, what was it, 305?
304.4 or whatever. 305. What is that?
Yeah, 77
Well,
billion. 7.4 billion.
seven point
One,
four,
two, three.
7.4 billion shares.
Divided by, and to get to
21
22,
million or 20.
21
Yeah,
million.
21 million.
What is it? So it's 21 million divided by, what was it? 74 billion, right? 74 billion.
Is that 74 billion?
Yeah, 74 billion. So 0.028%.
Wait, is that the me-
So it has to increase by 1.02? No.
No. Hold on. I don't know if that's the no,
All
no.
right,
So it's seven. So it's not 74 billion. It's seven.
Oh, so 7
It's
billion.
like 7 point. Let's just use 7.4
4.
billion.
Yep. All right, this is where.
So 7.4.
What do I need
So
to do?
let's
Divide?
do 7.4 billion divided by 21
Yeah.
million.
Divided by 20. Excuse me.
That's so
352.
then 352 times 305.
Right.
So that's $107,000. Like 360, right? So, you know what I mean? Like if I look at that, I go, well, Microsoft, if there were only 21 million shares, each share would be $107,000.
Right.
So, I'm like looking at Bitcoin and I'm going like $1 million per share. Like, in what world are we getting to $1 million per
Right.
share? It's just like for something that like does absolutely nothing as far as I can tell at this point,
Right.
right? As in like, okay, fine, you can use
Right.
it for like very large transactions, right? But it's not a day-to-day thing. And you can't
That's it.
even you
But,
yeah.
yeah. Let's see gold, though. Okay, so I get the argument for Microsoft. This is gold. So here's gold price per kilogram.
But that's the thing, you can't
And
even like I don't even know how you would do it.
let's say let's just say you restrict how many kilos of gold are there in the world? How many kilos of gold in the world? Let's just see. Estimated
Estimated
208 tons. All right.
has been mined.
Have been mined throughout history.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just say that's available.
Sure.
So let's see. This is always a good exercise. I like this. 2008 tons is how many kilos? This one, right? What is that?
Just times a
One,
thousand, I guess. So 208
yeah,
million.
2,000.
208
Okay,
million eight seventy
so
four.
208 million times how much is gold? 63, yeah?
Yep.
63,946.
Yep.
63,946. This is the market cap of gold.
That is
What is
10
that?
to the 13th.
1.3.
That
Let's
is
just
bigger
do
than
this.
trillion. The 13 trillion?
Let's see. Is there some way I can? What is it? Is there a way? Must be. Let's see. How many zeros are there?
Does that mean 13,
In a
13
million is 6,
million is
9,
billion, 12 is
12.
billion. So yeah, 13 billion, right?
No, no, no. 6 is
13 trillion,
million.
sorry, 13 trillion.
13 trillion. 6 is million. 9 is
Billion,
billion.
12 is trillion.
12 is
Right.
trillion.
And this is 13, I think.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 6 more after that. Oh, I gotta write it out. Let's just say 13, 13
I
trillion?
think the
Market
E
cap
plus 13 is
cap
the.
of gold is 13 trillion. 13, yeah, 13 trillion.
Yeah.
Here we go. Gold market cap is 13 trillion. Okay. So $13 trillion worth, right? Now we do the same math then.
So 13 trillion, right? So let's
Yeah.
do the Microsoft way, for example. So 13 trillion is basically
Yes.
like less than 5 times Microsoft. So let's say it's 4.5
Less than
times
5 times
in terms of
Microsoft.
the market cap, right?
Okay.
So even
Got
in
it.
that
Okay.
context,
Yep.
Microsoft would be
You got
like,
it.
I don't know, 600,000, right? Now,
Yeah,
in
600,000.
gold's case, 13 trillion. So I don't know, you could say that, okay, well, Bitcoin is like what market cap? I don't know, 1 trillion these days? What is Bitcoin's market cap these days?
Bitcoin market cap. It is 564 billion.
Oh God, it's like not even a trillion anymore. Okay, so
Yeah.
Bitcoin to get to 13 trillion, right? Bitcoin needs to what? Increase by 26 times.
26 times? Yep, that sounds about
So if
right.
it's 26 times current price, I don't know, let's just say it's 30,000 for argument's sake. So 780,000. So you know what I mean? Like fundamentally, whatever way you cut it, $1 million was like impossible. Now, obviously, gold. I mean, I don't know. Fine, you can compare it to gold if you want. It's 780,000, maybe, right? So yeah, when you just do the math, it's like doesn't make any sense. And then obviously maybe you take into
Yeah.
account
True.
hyperinflation, and then so that's the other thing, right? Okay, fine. You say there's hyperinflation, but the question then goes like, why would people put money into Bitcoin over gold? I don't know. I mean, obviously there's going to be a scarcity perspective, right? As in like, you're going to not enough gold in the world when people are going like crazy. And then maybe, but I think gold goes up to some, I don't know, critical mass number before it goes to like Bitcoin. I don't know. So, but anyway, I guess all that is to say is how like ludicrous that bet was in the sense that like there is no math that stacks up
Right.
to get you to $1 million. So what that tells me though
Yeah.
is it also tells me that like, if that were really the case, like it's like world is ending. And not only that, by the way, is if you look at the whole video, the things that he brings up is basically every issue that the United States faces, right? And so even more ridiculous thing about the bet is why would you bet in a currency that is going to be worthless? Like, why are we talking about Bitcoin in the context of $1 million? It should be like in the context of like some RMB or whatever. Right? Because I don't know, and maybe this is where Balaji is a bit cute or smart or whatever you want to call it. But like, yeah, if you bet $1 million is not going to be worth a lot of money.
Yes. Right.
In the scenario in which that happens. But that all being said,
Right.
like $1 million at that point is going to be a tremendous percentage of everybody's net worth
Yeah.
in the context of just the number, right? And it may not be worth a lot of money, but it's going to be the number that's actually going to be a significant amount of your net worth. So, for example, if you have $20 million in a bank,
Mm,
hyperinflation hits, $1 million is now worth a roll of toilet paper. Now you're just looking at,
right.
20 rolls of toilet paper in your bank account, right? So I was like, I don't know. The whole thing is just like ridiculous. Like ridiculous in so many dimensions that I like when you really like look at what he's saying, it's just so dumb. It
That's why I think it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's smart. I mean, it just even like the marketing, right? I'm gonna burn 1 million. Like, why choose 1 million? Like, it just sounds better.
Oh, I agree.
You
I
know,
agree. But
yeah.
it's the
I
PR.
think he knew what he was gonna
No,
do.
I
Yeah,
don't.
it's PR. I think he knew what he
I
was
don't
gonna
think
do.
so. I
Really.
think that he turned this into like a PR event, but I don't think his
Fair enough.
intention was to turn it into a PR event when he started.
Then
Um,
I don't think he's. I don't think I've lost respect for Balaji. Not that he needed my respect anyway.
oh, don't get me wrong. I
But
think he's a smart guy. Like, there's no doubt about that, right? There's no one in the planet that would say the guy is like a retard. But I think that
I'll say that.
he is. I mean, look, he lost, right? And then he found a way to try to make things back in his favor.
Yeah, but I just like, at least for me, it's like if you're smart, you would never just take that. It just I don't know. It just doesn't make. Even if you think you have 90 days, uh, like you would. I don't know. It's so blatantly not possible that it's 90 days won't do it. Then if you want to make a point to say at some point it's going to be that. I don't know. I think there are different ways to communicate that particular point, right? And not it's going to hit 1 million, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, maybe I'm just being too harsh, and like he had a whole plan, right? As in, like at the end of the day, like he says he burned 1 million. So I talk about this as well, right? But you do
Yeah.
get a tax break, right? When you donate to charity and whatever. So
True. Yeah.
maybe he
True.
needed to give some money away, and so this was like a
Yeah.
way for him to like do it, right? So there is always some angle, right, in which this makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, and then there's my perspective of like this makes absolutely well. There is one way to look at it, I guess. So anyway, it's like everything in life, right? It's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think he's smart. He's doing it for PR. But cool. So we're gonna do that artwork. And I'll turn it around to send me your best. I don't know how to other than describe. You can describe. We can use your description of having sex and just trying it last a little bit longer. Or the zombie face. What else do we want? Oh, and then I think that's it on the
Hmm.
podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. Should we kind of break
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
All right. And then the rest of the stuff.